Client onboarding creates the same little storm every time. A form response, an email thread, a folder, a project brief, a tracker row, and then a reply that sounds almost, but not quite, like the last one. None of that work is hard. But when the same details keep moving between tools, it gets expensive in attention. So in this video, we're building the logic for one AI-assisted workflow that connects those steps. The demo uses fictional client data and a vendor-neutral prototype. So you could rebuild the same system in Make, Zapier, N8N, or whatever automation tool you already use. The manual version is familiar. You read the intake form, copy the important details, create the folder, name it properly, write the brief, update the tracker, then draft the confirmation email. That's why this kind of admin survives for so long. It doesn't feel difficult. The cost is the switching. If the same information crosses 3 or more tools, and you repeat the sequence every week. Here's the architecture. A form submission starts the workflow. Then a validation step checks the required fields. An AI step organizes the client's own words into a structured brief. The system creates a folder and a tracker record. Then it drafts an acknowledgement email. And then it stops. That pause matters. The first version of a business automation should create drafts, not irreversible actions. Start with 6 fields: client name, email, company, desired outcome, deadline, and anything that could block the work. Before AI touches the response, check the basics. Is the name there? Is the email there? Is the date in one standard format? Then create a project ID from the date and the company name. That same ID follows the folder, the tracker row, and the email draft. Clean inputs aren't exciting, but they prevent most of the mess downstream. The AI step has one narrow job: organize the form response. That's it. The prompt says, use only the supplied form data. Return structured fields for the objective, deliverables mentioned, deadline, risks, missing information, and a 2-sentence acknowledgement. If something is missing, write not provided. Don't infer commitments, don't invent prices, don't make updates. Structured output is easier to check and easier to route than a polished paragraph. For our fictional client, the output gives us a clear objective: the deliverables they actually mentioned, the requested date, the known risks, and one missing item. Notice what's not there: invented scope. If the output is empty or invalid, the workflow stops and alerts the operator. A graceful failure is much cheaper than a confident mistake. Next, create the operating record. The folder is named with the project ID and company. The brief goes inside it. Then the tracker gets one new row with the status set to awaiting approval. Before creating anything, search for that project ID. If it already exists, stop and flag the run. That duplicate check is boring. It's also the thing that prevents a retry from creating 2 folders, 2 records, and 2 very confusing email drafts. The email uses a fixed template. Only 3 sections change: the client name, the summary of their requested outcome, and any missing information. The workflow creates a draft and records the review link. Then a human checks the source form, the brief, and the message before anything is approved. The system is faster because the review is focused, not because judgment disappears. Now let's test an incomplete submission. The client leaves the deadline blank, the workflow writes not provided, keeps the tracker valid, and asks for the date in the draft. It does not quietly choose next Friday. That's the behavior we want. Before you trust the happy path, test missing fields, duplicate submissions, invalid email addresses, and unavailable services. This system still has limits. Forms collect weak answers. Models can misclassify information. External services fail. Interfaces and prices change. The reliable version validates inputs, logs every run, stops cleanly, and keeps a person before the send button. The expensive part is rarely the model call. It's maintaining a workflow nobody documented. Build this when onboarding happens often. The same fields move across several tools, and the rules are predictable. If you onboard 1 client a month, keep a checklist and do it manually. Automation isn't a trophy. It's useful only when it removes enough repetition to repay the setup and maintenance. So, that's the operating system. Validate, structure, create, log, draft, approve. Next, Invisible Operator will test 7 AI tools on the same business task to see which ones are actually worth paying for. Subscribe if you want the result, not the sales pitch.